वेलकम टू नॉलेज अपडेट चैनल। कल मोदी 3.0 का फुल बजट 2024 रिलीज हुआ और उसमें काफी कुछ चेंजेस किए हैं। डायरेक्ट टैक्स के स्पीच अगर देखें तो बहुत सारे कम थे, बट जब हमने उसके देखा, मेमोरेंडम पढ़ा, फाइनेंस बिल पढ़ा, तो लगा कि काफी सारे चेंजेस है। प्राइमरी चेंजेस जो है फॉर डायरेक्ट टैक्स पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, वन वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट चेंज इन कैपिटल गेन। सेकंड टीडीएस, टीडीएस के काफी रेट्स को चेंज किया है, टीसीएस में भी बदलाव लिए हैं। एट एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू ऑल्सो टीडीएस टीसीएस में चेंज किए हैं। थर्ड, देर आर couple of changes with respect to employees, and there are few changes with respect to the partnership firm and LLP. So in this particular video we are going to discuss, primarily have a quick glance overview of the changes related to direct taxes as far as budget 24 is concerned. Let us first have understanding very clear कि ओल्ड टैक्स रेजिम जो है उसमें कोई चेंज नहीं है, टैक्स रेट में कहीं भी बदलाव नहीं है। गवर्नमेंट का ये बहुत क्लियर सोचना है कि ओवर द पीरियड ये ओल्ड टैक्स बेस बाहर चला जाएगा, एंड देयर विल बी ओनली वन टैक्स बेस, देयर इज अ न्यू टैक्स बेस, and more than 65% as per the government records are already under new tax base. So जो भी changes है primarily they are mainly catered for a new regime. So new regime में एक छोटा सा चेंज जो किया है वो स्लैब का 3 to 6 lakhs था 5% पहले, उसको 1 लाख से बढ़ा के उसको 3 to 7 lakhs पे 5% लेके आया है। सो 1 लाख रुपीज बढ़ा है, वहां पे सेम वे दैट हैज बीन इंक्रीज हियर इन 10%, so 5%, 10%, and then 15%. So at 15% it becomes 10 to 12 lakhs rupees, and therefore it is a 15% here. So 1 lakh rupees is what the limit has been increased for the purpose of the 5% slab. And as far as the standard deduction is concerned, तो आफ्टर अ लॉन्ग टाइम स्टैंडर्ड डिडक्शन जो एम्प्लॉइज का था उसको 50,000 रुपीज से बढ़ा के 75,000 रुपीज किया है। अब यहाँ पे देखिए तो लगता है कि अमाउंट इज वेरी बिग, 50% ऑफ द एग्जिस्टिंग वो बढ़ा है, बट इन माय व्यू लुकिंग टू सिचुएशन टुडे 75,000 रुपीज नॉट अ वेरी बिग अमाउंट। हाँ, बट यहाँ पे अभी जो न्यू रेजिम के लिए स्टैंडर्ड डिडक्शन फॉर एम्प्लॉइज इज नाउ इंक्रीज टू 75,000 रुपीज। नेशनल पेंशन स्कीम सेक्शन 80CC जहां पे डिडक्शन मिलता है विद रिस्पेक्ट टू कंट्रीब्यूशन बाय द एम्प्लॉयर, देयर वाज अ कैप अर्लियर कि अगर आप गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉय हो तो 14% ऑफ सैलरी इज मैक्सिमम इज अलाउड डिडक्शन। फॉर अदर देन गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉय it was a 10% was cap, 10% of the salary is the maximum cap which has been allowed as reduction. So now in this particular budget they have aligned the non-government to the government, so 10% is increased to 14%. As far as second point is concerned, credit of TCS paid to be allowed while computing the amount of TDS on salary income of employees. So in certain cases what happens, the employee may have received a TCS, but there was no provision where the TCS can be availed as a set off while doing a TDS calculation by employer. So now, if the employee has been subject to TCS, and then employee can provide the information of TCS to the employer, and employee while considering TDS, they can take into consideration this particular TCS amount. Next point is on basically income in the nature of family pension. So earlier the deduction amount was 1/3 of income or rupees 15,000, which is lower, and that has been increased to 25,000 rupees. So 15,000 को बढ़ा के 25,000 रुपया कर दिया है यहाँ पे in case of the deduction in the nature of family pension. अब एक बहुत बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट चेंज है अबाउट बायबैक ऑफ शेयर्स। सो अभी तक ऐसा नहीं था कि शेयर होल्डर जिसका शेयर्स कंपनी बाय बैक कर रही है, जैसे मेरे पास एक कंपनी का शेयर्स है, वो कंपनी लिस्टेड कंपनी है और वो कंपनी ने मेरे से वो शेयर्स बायबैक कर दिए, तो मैं जब शेयर्स उसने बायबैक किया है तो कंपनी ने मुझे पैसा दिया, तो वो शेयर्स का जो पैसा मुझे मिला है उसका टैक्सेशन का कोई प्रोविजन वहां पे नहीं था। नाउ व्हाट हैज बीन डन, द टैक्स ऑन बायबैक ऑफ शेयर्स ऑफ डोमेस्टिक कंपनी इन द हैंड ऑफ शेयर होल्डर व्हिच हैज बीन देयर, व्हाट इट सेज कि अगर आपने वो शेयर्स में इन्वेस्ट किया होता तो इट विल बी योर डिविडेंड इनकम. नाउ कंपनी ने क्या किया कि इंस्टेड ऑफ गिविंग यू डिविडेंड, द कंपनी हैज गिवन यू और टेकन द शेयर्स एज अ बायबैक. So that means the amount which has been given to you is nothing but a distribution to you being a shareholder. That's why it is called a deemed dividend. So it will be taxable as deemed dividend in income from other source. So one part is on that taxability of income amount received as dividend income. The second part, so what about my cost of acquisition? जो मैंने shares buy किया था उसका cost of acquisition क्या होगा? So that then it says that it is your part of capital gain or loss. So that cost of acquisition will be your treated as capital loss, which will set off against other capital gain. So let us understand this with example. For example, 100 shares bought in 2020 at the rupees 40 per share. So basically, my cost of acquisition for 100 shares is 40 rupees. 20 shares bought back in 2024 at rupees 60 per share means I have received from a company 60 rupees per shares for 20 shares. So 20 to 60, 1200 rupees I have received from company. It is treated as deemed dividend, taxable as income from other source. 50 shares sold in 2025 at 70 rupees per share. Now I have 100 shares, 20 shares with buyback by company, remaining 80. Out of 80 shares, 50 shares sold. So I received 70 rupees per share. 70 into 50, 3,500 rupees I received. Cost of acquisition of 50 shares is at 40, that is 2,000 rupees. So 1,500 rupees is a capital gain for sale of shares. However, there was a capital loss with respect to buyback of shares of rupees 800, which is going to be adjusted against this thing, and then therefore for me the capital gain will be chargeable, will be 700 rupees. So the objective here is to just give you an idea that it is treated as capital loss, which can be set off against any capital gain. TDS में बहुत सारे बदलाव है और उसमें the objective when the finance minister talked about, she mentioned that they have to rationalize the TDS provisions. They rationalize the capital gain provisions. तो TDS में जब 5% रेट था उसको 2% कर दिया है. What government says for them 2% 5% is not very important thing. Important for them is to capture the information. So 5% को 2% किया है. ये सब sections है. I am not going to reading every section here, but there are a couple of sections which are critical and important. 194H, which talks about a payment of commission or brokerage. 5% is changed to 2%. 194IB, payment of rent by individual or HUF, not covered by tax rate. That means, or like more than 1 crore rupees. In that case, it is like 2%, 5% to 2%. So 194IB, where individual or HUF are not covered in special provisions. Under 194I, therefore then that tax was 5%, now it has been changed to 2%. Now talks about another very important part, that is which is really a very big change, and it may have big issues for a partnership firm and LLP. So TDS on payment to partners of a partnership firm. अभी तक कभी ऐसा नहीं था कि पार्टनर्स को जो डिस्ट्रीब्यूट किया उसमें टीडीएस करना है. फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम द न्यू सेक्शन हैज बीन इंट्रोड्यूस्ड, सेक्शन 194T, व्हाट सेज टीडीएस ऑन पेमेंट ऑफ सैलरी, रेम्यूनरेशन, इंटरेस्ट, बोनस और कमीशन बाय पार्टनरशिप फर्म टू पार्टनर्स. जो पेमेंट टू एनी अकाउंट इंक्लूडिंग कैपिटल अकाउंट टू ऑफ द पार्टनर ऑफ द फर्म. सो मानी अगर आप पार्टनर को जो भी आप पेमेंट करते हो, इट कैन बी इंटरेस्ट, कैपिटल, बोनस, रेम्यूनरेशन, इंटरेस्ट, रेम्यूनरेशन, बोनस और कमीशन, राइट? सो आई एम सेइंग नॉट कैपिटल, इट्स मोरली इनकम. सो इन दैट केस टीडीएस हैज टू बी डन. एंड व्हाट इज द टीडीएस रेट? इट इज 10% of the aggregate amount of more than rupees 20,000 in a financial year. The exemption limit of rupees 20,000 is a very less compared to the whole TDS section is concerned, because 20,000 rupees तो ऐसे भी बढ़ जाएगा किसी के लिए, तो TDS करना ही पड़ेगा. I have received a lot of queries, confusion, कैसे possible होगा? 30 मार्च 2000 को 24-25 जो भी ईयर एंड है मेरा, मैं क्लोज कर रहा हूँ अकाउंट्स को, एंड उसके बाद अगर मुझे TDS पे करना है by 30 अप्रैल 2025 फॉर एग्जाम्पल, in that case मेरे प्रॉफिट फाइनल नहीं हुआ है, मेरा रेवेन्यू फाइनल नहीं हुआ है, इंटरेस्ट फाइनल नहीं हुआ, तो क्या करेंगे? So in my view, I think it will be a little difficult, yes, obviously, but it may like help us to really push us to prepare our accounts little earlier, and at that time, it may be advisable to have a making payment of TDS based on a draft amount which is finalized, and then if there is a change when you finalize your ITR, at that time if there is a change, then yes, maybe revision can be done. But however, this is what it talks about 194T के अंदर आपको TDS करना है. Another question is that अगर मैं withdrawal करता हूँ तो क्या? सर मेरा मानना है TDS is on the expenditure. That means if anything which will fall in the income statement of partner on which it is expenditure for the partnership firm, so on that part TDS to be done. So withdrawal, it is not expenditure, it is not income by a partner. So partner shows income, salary, remuneration, interest, bonus. So anything in the nature of that income is shown in the ITR of the partner, which is expenditure, kind of expenditure for the purpose of partnership firm. So on that, which TDS of 10% is to be done. Next point is on 194IA. It is TDS on a sale of immovable property. So basically, just let us look at this case. We all are aware that in case of immovable property, where the value of the property consideration is more than 50 lakhs rupees, then 1% TDS is required to be made. So the question जो normally आते हैं, if there are co-owners, there are multiple persons owning a property, then can we say the amount of property is less than 50 lakhs by counting the per co-owner instead of per property? So it has been clarified by way of amendment that that we need to look at the value of the property. We cannot look at the particular co-owner's share of a property. So that is, such consideration shall be aggregate of the amount paid or payable by all the transferees to the transferor. It is not about a particular one person, it is about the whole property as such. We will look at for the purpose of 1% of TDS. Let us look at a few clarifications in TDS. One very important thing is that payment for fees. There are two sections, 194C and 194J. 194C is a primary or works contract, 194J is professional or technical fees. So it clarifies that if something is covered in 194J, then it will not be covered in terms of work as per section 194C. So you cannot say that because TDS rate is different, 10% in 194J, 2% in 194C. So once it is falling part of professional technical fees, then it cannot be treated or termed as a work contract and in the 194C. So another thing is a time limit to file correction statement in respect of TDS or TCS statements. So there was no time limit for correction. There was no end or expiry where you can correct. Here they added that within 6 years from the end of financial year in which the statement has been respected to deliver, it can be corrected, not beyond that. Let us look at other amendments. So load of TDS and TCS certificates can be applied for section 184Q and 2061H. We know 184Q talks about TDS on purchase of goods and 206C1H is talking about collection TCS on sale of goods 0.1%. So on that also you can apply for a lower TDS TCS certificates. Interest rate which has been there for a TCS collected but not deposited government, it has been increased from 1% to 1.5%. There has been a separate rate for TDS, but however it was not there for TCS. So they both have been done together, alignment of TCS with TDS. So here if it is collected but not deposited, interest rate is higher, that is 1.5%. Credit of TCS of minor shall be allowed where income of minor clubbed with parent under section 64(1)(a). So what happens that in case if the minor is out of India for education point of view and by of LRS, the amount has been given to minor, then TCS may have been done in the name of minor. So how can the parent get credit? So here it is enabling provision which mentioned that Yes, the parent can also get a TCS in the name of minor. No order can be issued treating a person as an assessee in default for failing to deduct or collect tax after 6 years from the end of financial year of payment of credit, or 2 years from the end of financial year when correction statement delivered, which is later. So there was earlier, there is no provision for TCS, there is a provision for TDS which is not comprehensive. So now both the TDS TCS provisions have been combined together, and they have made clarified that you cannot treat it as a default, as in default. For that, at 6 years and 2 years have been specified as mentioned here. Now let us look at very important change, that is on capital gain. ये जो चेंज है वो चेंज पूरा हिला के रखने वाला है, because in last few years the way the stock market is going up, everybody majority have been involved into the stock market either through mutual fund or directly stock market. So let us look at the changes. Long term capital gain, there has been a long-term capital gain of 10%, 20%, 10% without indexation, 20% with indexation. Now these all have been removed, and with only one rate, that is a 12.5% without indexation. The only thing is that the grandfathering, that is a before 2001, that has been still available in case the property has been before 2001. Otherwise, the no indexation will be available for long-term capital gain. uh, there was a limit of 1 lakh rupees per year exemption. That limit of 1 lakh rupees exemption per year of long-term capital gain for STT paid equity shares, units of equity oriented mutual fund section 112A have been increased from 1 lakh to 1.25 lakh rupees. That is the most important for a long-term capital gain is concerned. Now let us look at the short-term capital gain. Again, there is a change where the short-term capital gain rate has been increased from 15% to 20% in case of STT paid equity shares, units of equity oriented mutual funds under section 311A. So this is again a 5% increase. In my view, is a very important change as far as short-term gain is concerned. Holding per period again has been more streamlined, and they have done only two things. One is 12 months or 24 months. 12 months for all listed securities, and for all others 24 months. So there is no more chaos on whether it is 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, which part listed 12. Other than that, it is a 24 months. Short term capital gain only for 311A, it is increased from 15% to 20%. This is the overall snapshot of the capital gain changes are concerned. Just to understand overall understanding of how the rate has been changed, I'm sure that this particular rate, this particular chart will be more useful to understand. Let us first look at about the equity shares, equity mutual fund, where more than 65% is equity. Earlier it was rate was 12-15%, uh, and now short term is increased to 20% as we discussed. So as far as the long term is concerned, it was a 10% no indexation, and now it has been increased to 12.5% with no indexation. So there is a 2.5% increase for long term in case of equity shares, and as far as short term is concerned, it has increased by 5% for 15% to 20% for unlisted equity shares, right? And mutual fund with 35% or 65%. For both these cases, you just look at the short term, there is no change because they both are at slab rate, right? As far as long term is concerned, there was 20% after indexation was there, now which has been streamlined to 12.5% with no indexation. So nothing to worry about what is index rate. Just take it the sale price minus purchase price and multiply with 12.5%. That is what is your the profit taxation. Then comes debt mutual fund, where it is a more than 65% purchase on or after April 1, 2023. Here we just look at, there is no change. There is always as per the recommended slab rate, and the same thing is there here. So there is no change as far as the mutual fund debt is concerned, which is more than 65%. Now there is a certain definition change of the specified mutual fund, and there where they mentioned that from 1st April 25, from 1st April 2025 financial year, there will be a change. Not right now, but from 1st April 25. Kindly ensure that these all rates are, so as far as this year is concerned, we will divide this year into two parts. One is sold up to 22nd July. Second is sold on or after 23rd July 24. So the year is divided into two parts. अगर 22 जुलाई तक आपने सेल किया है तो आपको ये देखना है पुराना, और 23 जुलाई के बाद में देखना है तो आपको ये देखना है. तो there will be not be one chart for 1 year, there will be a two chart for 1 year. And for 1st April 25 onwards, again there is a more splitting which is done, wherein international hybrid multi-asset less than 35%, debt mutual fund, uh, these are has been basically taken as a part of the slab rate, and 12.5% no indexation. So 20% after indexation now is moved to 12.5% December. This is applicable from 1st April 25. And for gold and real estate, so here I think there is the only change is primarily on a long term, where no indexation is available now, and that 20% after indexation is moved to 12.5% no indexation. So यहाँ पे भी क्या होगा कि जो इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी है, वो प्रॉपर्टी अगर आप बाय सेल कर रहे हो तो उस टाइम यू हैव टू बी वेरी केयरफुल कि आपको इंटरेस्ट मिलने वाला नहीं है. जितना आपका कैपिटल गेन ज्यादा आएगा इतना आपको फायदा है, बिकॉज आपका वो वाइट का इनकम अच्छा रहेगा, और आपको टैक्स पे करना है सिर्फ 12.5%. नथिंग टू वरी ऑन इंडेक्सेशन पार्ट. कब बाय किया कब सेल किया वो इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. इंडेक्सेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू जस्ट लुक एट सेल्स प्राइस, कॉस्ट एंड नेट प्रॉफिट एट 12.5% if it is a long term. So ये जो overall capital gain का chart है, I am sure that this something is going to give a snapshot of understanding, but yes, it need to be discussed and debated over and over period as the more practical situation come into picture. Now let us look at the angel tax, which has been more labored also by finance minister in a speech, and also referred into a lot of magazines, newspapers. So what it mentioned that in case of the issue of shares of unlisted company, earlier tax was levied if the consideration received for issue of shares exceeds face value of such shares. The aggregate consideration received for such share exceeding fair market value shall be chargeable to Income Tax Act. So what it says, basically it mentions one very important thing, that any amount exceeding fair value. So for example, 10 rupees is my face value, fair value is 100 rupees, and the amount received for issue shares is 120 rupees. So 120 minus 100, 20 rupees is exceeding fair market value. So that exceeding fair market value is 20 rupees was being chargeable as a part of income from other source. However, now this has been removed in the proposed scenario. So it won't be taxable in the case of company. Now coming to a part which is a small thing, but yes, there is a change. There is a limit on deduction allowability for remuneration for business or profession, and that limit has been basically for a business. The limit has been raised from 1.5 lakhs rupees here, maximum 1.5 lakhs rupees to rupees 3 lakhs rupees here in case of loss, and then for 0 to 3 lakhs rupees was earlier. Now it has increased to 0 to 6 lakhs rupees, and the amount is here 3 lakhs rupees on 90% book profit, which is more. So here the remuneration limit has been little bit tweaked here, and they have almost doubled the amount. So far in my view it is not going to have a huge impact, even though the amount is doubled. However, still it is not going to have a huge impact for a large firm. Therefore, for a small firm where they are ranging towards this thing, probably it can give a more impact, and anyway it is going to be taxable in the hands of the person who is receiving it. Other amendments, so एक विवाद से विश्वास, विवाद को कम करना, लिटिगेशन को कम करना, वो गवर्नमेंट का काफी टाइम से आई थिंक रवैया है, and it's good. We need to reduce litigation. A lot of cases are pending across all forums, whether it is low level or higher level. So Vivad Se Vishwas scheme 2024, which is proposed to be there, and which will give a lot of understanding as far as a lot of way where we can reduce the litigation. Non-reputing of certain foreign assets. See, there is a provision which I mentioned that in case if you're having any of the foreign assets out of India, you're supposed to declare in your tax return. Now, there is a flat penalty of rupees, there is a penalty of 10 lakhs rupees irrespective of the amount. So even though there is some amount which has been left out by mistake, which means not material amount, but still the penalty can be 10 lakhs rupees. So just to save from that small things, what has been laid down that for movable assets like ESOP etc. up to rupees 20 lakh, if it is not repeated, it is not penalized. So for a small thing where you forget to do it, the object is not to really harass you that part, so that will not be penalized. Equalization levy. So e-commerce operators for online sales of goods or services who does not have permanent establishment in India. So equalization levy was introduced concept earlier, and now that concept has been now leave away with where it says that proposes that no levy. Earlier it was 2% on consideration received. Now it has been removed. Which case of in case of e-commerce has do not have permanent establishment in India. Companies other than domestic companies, so in our understanding foreign companies who are not a domestic company, the tax on income other than special rate income earlier existing was 40%, now it is proposed to reduce to 35%. Clarification is given. I will not say it's amendment. There's a clarification is given that in case of any income from letting of a residential house property. So for any income which is ready from residential house property, in that case, that will be chargeable under your house property income head. It won't be part of the business profession head. So it will be part of income from house property, not and never can be part of your income from business profession. So please ensure RHP residential house property always part of your house property income. Expenditure incurred to settle proceeding related to legal controversy. This is the last point I am going to say. I know that a lot of things I have tried to make it very concise, but still it is a very last point. So expenditure incurred to settle proceedings related to legal contravention. So that is also covered here. It has been clarified that it's not only penalty, but even if an expenditure is incurred to settle legal contravention, it will again at the part of section 37(1) disallowed. So, dear friends, I think these are the few. I will not say like all. There are the few very important amendments which I believe are critical for all of us to understand. I think we need to really plan in such a fashion that we are able to know, understand, and ensure that that unnecessary tax litigation is not been there. So, with this, thank you so much and keep continuing.